This is Greg Penglis for Action Radio with Founding Moments, insights into our founding documents, sponsored by Santa Rosa Volunteers, here in Santa Rosa County, Florida. Santa Rosa Volunteers is available at their website, SRV1776.com. That's SRV1776.com. We now leave the tepid and vapid John Jay for someone far better known, yet equally contemptible, for lying to the American people, for bringing up the boogeyman of what might happen as a reason to move from the Articles of Confederation, during a time when the states were probably their most united after our war for independence against Great Britain, where there is no such evidence of an actual split of the Confederation of States into the 3 to 4 independent confederacies so described over and over by the Federalists. In other words, it's the same old story. Scare the people away from something good to something worse when that worse benefits you. Ironically, it is under the Constitution that the states broke into the Confederacy in the mid-1800s that led to the Civil War. There is no way to know if such would have happened under the Articles of Confederation. I've searched the internet and cannot find any instance where any one or more groups of states formed their own confederations against the other states or against the new federal government under the Articles of Confederation. Alexander Hamilton, who wrote Federalist No. 6, is far more intellectual and therefore far more persuasive than John Jay. Hamilton unfortunately still uses the same framework of arguing against something that doesn't exist while trying to sell a solution because it might happen, maybe, with that solution being an entirely new constitution where no one knows if or how it would work. Ironically, the Constitution actually ends up allowing for the same abuses of power that it allegedly was created to prevent, and that it causes over time the very problems Hamilton said would not happen if they repealed the Articles of Confederation. In a prescient paragraph, Hamilton, while trying to sell what will not happen, outlines exactly what has happened over time under the Constitution. He begins, "The causes of hostility among nations are innumerable. There are some which have a general and almost constant operation upon the collective bodies of society. Of this description are the love of power or the desire of preeminence and dominion, the jealousy of power or the desire of equality and safety. There are others which have a more circumscribed, though an equally operative influence within their spheres. Such are the rivalships and competitions of commerce between commercial nations, and there are others, not less numerous than either of the former, which take their origin entirely in private passions, in the attachments, enmities, interests, hopes, and fears of leading individuals in the communities of which they are members. Men of this class, whether the favorites of a king or of a people, have in too many instances abused the confidence they possessed, and assuming the pretext of some public motive, have not scrupled to sacrifice the national tranquility to personal advantage or personal gratification." Much of this should ring true. Dr. Anthony Fauci, whom we affectionately call Dr. Fascist here at Action Radio, is the preeminent example of this personal, pathological power and wealth decadency and obsession. Alexander Hamilton then goes through a bunch of examples of corruption, greed, and despotism in countries that were monarchies or otherwise centrally controlled as relevant and comparable to our unique Confederation of States, which were probably the most decentralized of any nation. They weren't relevant comparisons, but he tried to make that argument anyway, and made it the basis of his "we better ratify the Constitution or that scenario will happen" argument, but without any prediction of the actual breakdown into those 3 to 4 factions and what those factions might be. It's speculation at best, propaganda at worst. Hamilton also says, "So far is the general sense of mankind from corresponding with the tenets of those who endeavor to lull asleep our apprehensions of discord and hostility between the states, in the event of disunion, that it has from long observation of the progress of society become a sort of axiom in politics, that vicinity or nearness of situation constitutes nations' natural enemies. An intelligent writer expresses himself on this subject to this effect. Okay, paragraph break here. He is saying that because the states are next to each other, conflict is only a matter of time. And then he tries to tie his false premise, invalid comparisons, and made-up conclusions all together with an exasperated expression of the futility of human nature. And so it's all going to fall apart anyway. Unless you follow him and the Federalists into the Constitution. He says, finishing the paragraph, neighboring nations are naturally enemies of each other unless their common weakness forces them to league into a Confederate republic, and their Constitution prevents the differences that neighborhood occasions, extinguishing that secret jealousy which disposes all states to aggrandize themselves at the expense of their neighbors. This passage, at the same time, points out the evil and suggests the remedy. Okay, so how does this suggest the remedy exactly? Call me crazy, but it appears the Federalists are arguing for the Constitution without actually using the Constitution in their arguments. No provisions of the Constitution have been gone over. No provisions have been highlighted as examples of how to prevent the very descending into chaos they so fervently argue will happen without the Constitution. I'm guessing the people of this time were as confused as I am today. The source for the Federalist Papers is federalistpapers.org. The Anti-Federalist Papers are from foundingfathersquotes.com. The Articles of Confederation are from usconstitution.net. This is Greg Penglis for Action Radio with Founding Moments, sponsored by Santa Rosa Volunteers. Their website is SRV 1776.com. That's SRV 1776.com. Please share this report to anyone who needs it.